The outcast's value. The market on Vega Prime buzzed with activity as merchants hawked their wares beneath twin suns that bathed everything in amber light. Creatures from a dozen worlds bartered over exotic fruits and technological artifacts strewn across makeshift stalls. Yet at the center of the bazaar, where the noise grew loudest, stood the auction platforms where living beings were sold. Sarah stood silently on the tallest platform, her purple skin glistening with sweat from the relentless heat. Her height dwarfed the other captives, each nearly twice as tall as the vegan guards who prodded her occasionally with electric prods. She didn't flinch at their touch, her eyes fixed on some distant point beyond the crowd. "Final offering before slaughter," the auctioneer announced, his voice amplified through crackling speakers. "Too large for practical label, too different for breeding." He circled her platform, gesturing dramatically at her towering form. "But prime meat yield, excellent quality, enough to feed 50 for a week." The crowd murmured appreciatively, some shouting crude jokes about purple meat tasting sweet. Sarah's expression remained unchanged, though her breathing quickened slightly, her chest rising and falling with controlled precision. "Begin the bidding," the auctioneer called, "starting at 500 credits for processing and delivery." Laughter rippled through the audience. No one raised a hand. Dr. Aya Chen watched from the edge of the crowd, her research uniform partially concealed beneath a travel cloak. Unlike the others, her eyes held no amusement, only careful calculation. She had come to this outpost following rumors of a unique specimen, never intending to witness a slaughter. "Too costly to feed," someone shouted. "Just butcher already." "Meat's probably tough anyway," another added. The auctioneer sighed dramatically. "The butchers await her at sundown if no claim is made. A waste of a rare specimen, but that's commerce." Sarah's gaze drifted across the jeering faces until suddenly they locked with Aya's. The human scientist felt a jolt of recognition, not of familiarity, but of intelligence. The being on the platform was no mindless creature. She was thinking, calculating, enduring. "She understands everything," Aya whispered to herself, "everything they're saying about her." The auctioneer banged his gavel against the platform. "Final call for this specimen. Too large, too different, destined for meat." Aya pushed forward through the crowd, her mind racing through implications. Her research grant, her reputation, her limited resources all weighed against what she was about to do. Yet something about the quiet dignity in those eyes made scientific rationale secondary. "I claim her," Aya called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The market fell silent as hundreds of eyes turned toward the small human woman. The auctioneer squinted down at her. "You claim this meat specimen, scientist?" "I claim this sentient being," Aya corrected, meeting his gaze. "And I invoke Galactic Research Directive 16.3, which grants priority acquisition rights for scientific study of undocumented sentient species." Murmurs spread through the crowd. The auctioneer's face darkened. "She's classified non-sentient by central authority, meat grade only." "I'm prepared to challenge that classification," Aya responded, pulling out her identification badge. "Dr. Aya Chen, Xenobiological Research Division. I have authority to make preliminary sentience determinations." For the first time, Sarah's expression changed slightly, her eyes widening as she studied the small human who spoke for her. "Your credits wouldn't cover a tenth of her meat value," the auctioneer sneered. "My credentials are worth more than your entire market license. Shall I request a full Galactic Authority inspection of your operation while they review my claim?" The threat hung in the air. The auctioneer's face contorted with fury, but the risk of inspection made his decision clear. "Take your specimen," he spat, "but keep it chained. It's your funeral if it breaks loose." Aya approached the platform slowly, looking up at Sarah. "I won't keep you in chains," she said quietly, "but I need you to come with me now, before they change their minds." Sarah's eyes revealed nothing, but she nodded once, barely perceptible. The crowd parted nervously as Aya led the towering purple figure from the platform, away from the butcher's block, and toward an uncertain future.
A defiant claim. The chains rattled with each step as Sarah followed Dr. Chen through the crowded marketplace. Vendors pulled their wares aside hastily as the towering purple figure passed, some spitting at her feet, others making protective gestures against evil. Aya walked briskly, her short stature forcing Sarah to take careful, measured steps to avoid trampling her unexpected savior. "Keep close," Aya murmured, glancing back. "The Port Authority office is just beyond the eastern gate. We need official clearance before they change their minds." Sarah's violet eye scanned the surroundings, calculating escape routes and potential threats. Her restraints limited her movement, but she could still sense the hostility surrounding them, like waves of heat rising from scorched earth. A group of traders blocked their path, four burly creatures with scales that shimmered like oil on water. "Pretty bold claim, human," the largest one growled, "taking meat off our tables." Aya stood her ground, though her heart raced beneath her composed exterior. "I've made a legal claim. She's under scientific protection now." The trader laughed, showing rows of needle-like teeth. "Science. Look at her. Too big, too purple, too strange. She's worth nothing but her flesh." Sarah tensed, her muscles rippling beneath her violet skin. The chains creaked slightly as her hands formed fists. "Step aside," Aya commanded, her voice surprisingly authoritative for her size. "Or shall I summon the Port Authority now? Perhaps they'd be interested in those unregistered cargo containers behind your stall." The trader's companion shifted nervously, pulling at his arm. "Not worth the trouble, Kaz," one whispered. "Let the human take the beast." With a snarl of frustration, the trader stepped aside. "She'll eat you in your sleep, human. You can't tame something like that." Aya continued forward, pretending confident she didn't entirely feel. Only when they were several stalls away did she release a shaky breath. "I'm sorry about that," she said quietly. "This won't be the last confrontation we face." For the first time, Sarah spoke, her voice deep yet melodic with an accent that made common language sound almost musical. "Why did you claim me?" Aya glanced up, startled by both the question and the intelligence behind it. "Because you're sentient, because what they planned was wrong." "Many see wrong. Things happen regardless," Sarah replied, her words carefully chosen. "I'm a scientist," Aya said as they continued walking. "I study unique life forms, but what I saw back there wasn't science, it was cruelty." They reached the eastern gate, a massive archway monitored by bored-looking officials. A small office sat to one side with a faded sign reading Port Authority Claims and Departures. "Wait here," I instructed, pointing to a bench outside the office. "Please don't try to run. These restraints are coded to your biosignature. They'll cause pain if you move beyond 30 meters from me." Sarah nodded, settling onto the bench, which creaked dangerously beneath her weight. "I will wait." Inside the cramped office, Aya faced a skeptical administrator whose multiple eyes blinked asynchronously as he reviewed her documentation. "A sentience claim on a meat-grade specimen?" His tentacles waved dismissively. "Highly irregular, Dr. Chen." "Nonetheless valid under Section 16.3, Aya insisted, sliding her credentials across the desk. "I need temporary research custody papers and transport clearance." The administrator's appendages fluttered over a series of screens. "Your research authorization is valid, but this specimen has already been processed for culinary use. The paperwork to reverse that designation is extensive." "I'm prepared to complete it," I replied firmly. "There are also significant fees," he added, one tentacle tapping at a calculator. Aya gritted her teeth. "Name your price." Outside, Sarah watched the market with wary eyes. A group of children had gathered, pointing and whispering. Some threw small stones, which Sarah ignored with practiced indifference. She had endured worse, much worse since her capture months ago. A shadow fell across the bench as a uniformed security officer approached. "You're the meat specimen the scientists claimed," he stated, not a question. Sarah met his gaze, saying nothing. "I've seen your kind before," he continued, circling her. "Bigger than most, but still just meat with legs. You must have tricked the humans somehow, made her think you're worth studying." Sarah remained silent, her expression revealing nothing. "Won't work for long," the officer sneered. "Once she realizes you're nothing special, you'll end up where you belong, on dinner plates." The office door opened as Aya emerged clutching a sheaf of documents. Her eyes narrowed, seeing the officer. "Is there a problem here?" "Just admiring your acquisition, Doctor," he replied with false politeness. "Quite a specimen." "She's under my protection now," Aya stated, holding up the stamped documents, "and we're cleared for transport to my research facility." The officer shrugged. "Your funeral. Creatures like this always show their true nature eventually." As he walked away, Aya approached Sarah. "I've secured temporary custody papers. We need to reach the spaceport before sundown." She hesitated, looking at the heavy chains. "And I've requisitioned the key for your restraints, but we should wait until we're safely aboard my shuttle." "Shuttle?" Sarah repeated, her violet eyes widening slightly. "Yes, we're leaving Vega Prime. I have a small research outpost on Helios Station. It's nothing fancy, but it's private, safe." For a moment, something like hope flickered across Sarah's stoic features before she carefully controlled her expression again. "Why risk this for me?" "Because everyone deserves a chance to be more than what others decide they are," Aya said simply. "Now, come, we have a long journey ahead." Together, they moved toward the spaceport, the small human and the towering purple figure drawing stares and whispers. Behind them, the market continued its commerce, oblivious to how one small act of defiance had altered the course of 2 lives.
Escape through shadows. Twilight cast long shadows across the spaceport as Aya and Sarah approached the security checkpoint. Wind carried the scent of fuel and machinery, masking their approach from the guards who looked bored with the day's final inspections. The smaller transport vessels were lined in neat rows, their hulls gleaming in the fading light, while larger cargo ships dominated the far end of the landing field. "My shuttle is in Bay 17, Aya whispered, gesturing toward a modest research vessel bearing university insignia. "Once we're cleared through security, we should be able to board without incident." Sarah's chains clinked softly as she walked, her violet skin taking on a deeper hue in the dimming light. "They follow us," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Aya glanced back casually, noticing 3 figures trailing at a distance. The market guards had changed into civilian clothes, but their predatory stance betrayed their purpose. "Keep moving," she instructed, trying to maintain a steady pace. "Act as though everything is normal." The checkpoint loomed ahead, 2 board officers scanning documentation and waving travelers through. Aya clutched her newly acquired papers, rehearsing responses to potential questions. The line moved slowly, each passing minute increasing her anxiety. When they finally reached the front, the taller officer's eyes widened at the sight of Sarah. "Purpose of transport?" "Scientific research," Aya replied, presenting her documents. "I've claimed this specimen under Galactic Research Directive 16.3. The officer scanned the papers, suspicion evident in his expression. "These were processed today." "Yes, an unexpected research opportunity," Aya explained, maintaining eye contact. The specimen displays unique physiological adaptations that warrant further study. The second officer circled Sarah, examining her chains. Dangerous? Precautionary measures only, Aya answered smoothly. Standard protocol for transporting unfamiliar species. Sarah remained perfectly still, her violet eyes fixed forward, revealing nothing of her thoughts. The officers conferred briefly before reluctantly stamping the documents. Bay 17 cleared for departure. You have 90 minutes before curfew restrictions, the first officer stated. And, Doctor, the Research Guild will be notified of this unusual acquisition. I welcome their interest, Aya replied, with forced confidence. My findings will justify the claim. They proceeded toward the bay, Aya's shoulders tight with tension. The men following us will make their move soon. Once we reach the shuttle, I can remove your restraints. Sarah nodded almost imperceptibly. I understand. The research vessel came into view, a modest ship designed for extended scientific expeditions. Aya increased her pace slightly, her hand moving to the access panel on her wrist. I'm activating the shuttle's security protocols, just 30 more meters. A sharp whistle cut through the air as one of their pursuers abandoned pretense. Stop them, a familiar voice shouted. The purple one is stolen property. Two security officers turned toward the commotion as the market guards rushed forward, drawing weapons. Aya fumbled with the access panel. Sarah, run, she commanded, punching in the emergency sequence that would temporarily deactivate the restraint's proximity sensors. The chains suddenly loosened as Sarah's bonds released their biometric lock. The towering figure hesitated only a moment before sweeping Aya into her arms and sprinting toward the shuttle with astonishing speed. The security officer shouted commands to halt, but Sarah moved like flowing water, her long strides carrying them swiftly across the tarmac. Blaster fire erupted behind them, energy bolts scorching the ground at their feet. Aya clung to Sarah's massive frame as the world blurred around them. The hatch will recognize my biosignature, she gasped. Just get me close enough. Sarah dodged between vessels, her movements surprisingly graceful despite her size and the remaining chains at her wrists. The shuttle's entry ramp began lowering as they approached, responding to Aya's remote signal. With a final burst of speed, Sarah leapt onto the extending ramp, cradling the human protectively against her chest as they tumbled inside. Close hatch, emergency protocols, Aya shouted as they scrambled deeper into the shuttle. The entry sealed with a pneumatic hiss, cutting off their pursuers' shouts. Sarah set Aya down gently, her violet eyes scanning the unfamiliar environment. The interior was modest but well-equipped, with research stations and living quarters designed for extended missions. They will prevent departure, she stated, moving to a viewport where security forces were gathering outside. Aya rushed to the cockpit, activating systems with practice efficiency. Not if we move quickly, she responded, fingers flying across control panels. I'm initiating emergency launch clearance, research priority override. The shuttle hummed to life, systems engaging as warning lights flashed outside, signaling imminent departure. Sarah watched in fascination as Aya worked, her small hands confident and precise. Strap in, Aya called. This won't be a smooth takeoff. Sarah folded her large frame into a reinforced seat designed for equipment transport rather than passengers. The restraint barely stretched across her chest. The engines roared, building power as outside the security forces attempted to establish a blockade. Transmission incoming, the computer announced. Port Authority demands immediate stand-down. I ignored the message, engaging thrusters. Hold on, she warned, as the shuttle lurched upward, breaking free from its docking clamps. The vessel shuddered under strain as it rose rapidly into the darkening sky. Warning alerts flashed across the console. They're scrabbling interceptors, Aya muttered, sweat beading on her forehead. We have maybe 5 minutes before they reach us. You risk everything, Sarah observed, her voice calm despite the chaos, for someone you do not know. Aya's hands never paused in their work as she plotted a complex trajectory. "Some principles are worth risking everything for," she replied. "Freedom, dignity, the right to determine your own fate." The ship broke free from the atmosphere, stars suddenly visible through the viewport. The warning systems continued their urgent alerts as Aya engaged the FTL drive, preparing for the jump that would take them beyond pursuit. "Ready for jump in 5, 4, 3. Aya counted down as the engines built to a crescendo. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the shuttle lurched forward, space folding around them in a dazzling display of physics. Sarah watched in wonder, her violet eyes reflecting the cosmic light show. Her chains now hung loose around her wrists, symbols of a past she was leaving behind. As the ship stabilized in hyperdrive, Aya finally turned to her passenger. "Welcome to freedom, Sarah," she said with a tired smile. "It's just the beginning."
Sanctuary among stars. The research station orbited Helios 3, a remote outpost far from established trade routes. Its modular design featured expansive observation decks and specialized laboratories connected by transparent corridors, offering breathtaking views of the gas giant below. Light from the distant sun cast everything in soft blue hues as Sarah stood before the main viewport, her chains finally removed, her violet skin luminescent in the starlight. "This will be your home for now," Aya explained, gesturing around the spacious living quarters. "No one will find you here. The station's officially registered for atmospheric research." Sarah touched the transparent wall, her fingers leaving no marks despite their strength. "Beautiful," she whispered, her voice carrying reverence. "I had forgotten such peace existed." Aya observed her with scientific curiosity mingled with growing personal interest. "How long were you captive?" "3 cycles of the twin moons," Sarah replied, her gaze still fixed on the stars. "Before that, I wandered, separated from my kind." "Your people? What are they called?" Aya asked, activating a recording device before thinking better of it and shutting it off. This wasn't research anymore. Sarah turned, her violet eyes meeting Aya's. "The Ariani. We are few now, scattered, hunted for our size and strength, valued only as curiosities or meat." "I'm sorry," Aya said, stepping closer despite the dramatic height difference between them. "I want to understand, to help somehow." Days passed into weeks as they settled into routine. Sarah helping with station maintenance, her incredible strength making light work of tasks that would have required specialized equipment. The laboratory became a place of mutual discovery as Aya learned about Ariani physiology, while Sarah absorbed knowledge of the stars and planets surrounding them. One evening, as artificial twilight dimmed the station lights, they sat together sharing a meal Aya had prepared. "Your wounds are healing well," she noted, gesturing to the fading marks on Sarah's wrists where chains had once cut deep. "The body heals quickly," Sarah responded, setting down her utensils. "The mind remembers longer." Aya hesitated, then reached across the table, her small hand covering Sarah's massive purple one. "You're safe here, I promise." Sarah's fingers gently curled around Aya's, the touch cautious as if afraid of breaking something precious. "You gave me life when others saw only meat, value when others saw only profit. Why?" "At first, it was scientific curiosity, then moral obligation, but now—" She paused, struggling to articulate feelings that had developed beyond professional interest. Sarah leaned forward, her face catching the starlight. Now, I see you. Not as specimen or subject, but as Sarah. Someone remarkable. Someone I care about."
The distance between them diminished slowly, deliberately, until their foreheads touched. Sarah's breath warm against Aya's skin. "I see you too, Aya Chen. The one who taught me to hope again." Their first kiss was tentative, a bridge between worlds so different, yet somehow aligned in this moment suspended among the stars. Together they discovered new territory, unmapped by either of their sciences, the geography of belonging. Breaking chains. The emergency alert shattered their peace 3 months into their sanctuary. The station's proximity sensors detected an approaching vessel, its signature matching Galactic Enforcement Command. Aya rushed to the control center, Sarah following close behind her, her violet skin darkened with concern. "They found us," Aya breathed, staring at the monitor. "Someone must have tracked the shuttle's flight path." Sarah stood tall, her presence filling the small command center. "They come from me." It wasn't a question. "I won't let you take you," Aya insisted, fingers flying across the console, attempting to obscure the station's life signs. "There must be somewhere we can hide." The communication system crackled to life. "Research Station Helios. This is Commander Cooper of Galactic Enforcement. We have reason to believe you're harboring an unregistered sentient being. Prepare for boarding." Sarah placed a gentle hand on Aya's shoulder. "No more running. No more hiding," she said, her voice steady with newfound resolve. "I am not meat. I am not property. This ends today." Aya looked up, meeting those remarkable violet eyes now filled with determination rather than resignation. "What are you suggesting?" "The truth," Sarah replied simply. "My people have hidden too long. Let them see me. Let them hear me. Let them know the Ariani are not animals for slaughter." When Commander Cooper and his team boarded the station, they expected resistance. Instead, they found Aya and Sarah waiting calmly in the observation deck. The sight of the towering purple figure momentarily stunned the enforcement officers, their weapons half raised. "I am Sarah of the Ariani," she announced, her voice carrying authority that filled the room. "I claim asylum under the Sentient Rights Accord, Article 7. Cooper frowned, consulting his datapad. "The Ariani are not recognized under the Accord. They're classified as non-sentient livestock." "A classification I challenge," Aya interjected, stepping forward. "As chief xenobiologist for the Outer Rim Research Consortium, I've documented irrefutable evidence of Ariani intelligence, language development, and cultural memory." She activated the station's display screens, showing months of research recordings. Sarah demonstrating complex problem-solving, learning multiple languages, creating art and music. The evidence was overwhelming. "Furthermore, I've located surviving Ariani communities in the Cygnus sector. Previously thought extinct, they've been hiding to avoid capture and slaughter." Cooper lowered his weapon, clearly shaken by the revelations. "If this is true, it changes everything." Sarah finished, "My people are not meat. We are not curiosities. We are sentient beings with the right to exist." The legal battles that followed made galactic headlines. Purple giant challenges species classification. Scientist and alien demand recognition. Their testimony before the Galactic Council became the most viewed broadcast in recent memory. 6 months later, as they stood together on the observation deck of their station, now officially recognized as an Ariani embassy, Sarah held Aya close, both watching as the first diplomatic vessel carrying Ariani representatives approached. "You gave me my life," she whispered, pressing her lips to Aya's forehead. "And together, we gave my people their future." Aya smiled, looking up at the remarkable being who had transformed from specimen to partner. "We broke the chains. Not just yours,
but chains of ignorance and prejudice. That's worth everything we risked. The stars witnessed their embrace, two beings from worlds apart, who had found in each other something worth fighting for. The chains that bound Sarah now existed only in memory, replaced by the bonds of love that had formed in the sanctuary among stars. As the Ariane ship docked, bringing Sarah's people into the light of recognition, she stood tall and proud, her violet skin luminous, her hand firmly holding Aya's. They had rewritten her destiny, transformed her from meat to meaning, and in doing so, they had changed the course of history itself.